up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Dave Greathouse with Josh Anton, and with us, as always, is Ari Callieham. We are HomeX Real Estate Solutions. Thanks again for tuning in. And today we wanted to talk about a topic that we've been getting a lot of questions from you guys, especially out-of-state investors, and that is Section 8 rentals. And so we obviously wanted to bring Ari on and explain that to us because she has a ton of experience with Section 8. So Ari, welcome.
Yes. Hi, thanks for having me.
So I know Josh and I both were talking about this earlier this week, that we get a lot of questions from folks out of state about Section 8. And I think there's some misconceptions on it, and maybe there's not. And that's why we kind of wanted to have you on to clear it up. So if you don't mind, maybe just give us a quick rundown on what Section 8 is for the folks who maybe have no clue what it is.
Okay, so Section 8 is a subsidized housing voucher, and it varies from state to state, county to county, really. So here in Cleveland, the program that offers a Section 8 voucher is CMHA. So that is the organization that offers the voucher here in Cuyahoga County.
What's that stand for? Do we know?
Cuyahoga Metropolitan Housing Authority.
Okay. I don't think I ever knew that.
Yeah.
Good.
Surprise, surprise.
So it's subsidized rent, meaning
Yes.
does the county pay for like 100% of their rent for the tenant, or is it split?
So it's income based. So it really just depends. If you have a tenant who may be unemployed, then yes, CMHA will cover the entire rent most times. If you have a tenant who is employed, they will pay based on what their income is.
Okay. So what's the process look like for, maybe this is two buckets, right? One, acquiring a home that's Section 8 ready, and then one that isn't, and going about the process of making it ready for Section 8 tenants.
Got it. So to make a property Section 8 ready, there is a list, and I mean we could share that at some point, that kind of tells you like the things that they're going to look for, and it's pretty basic. I mean, you just want to make sure that your GFCIs are where they need to be, all of your outlets are grounded, you have all of your safety things in order. So like your smokes and carbons and things of that nature, windows open and close and lock. Really basic for the most part. No lead-based paint, so any chipping paint is going to be like a red flag. So those are going to be like the first items that they're going to check. But other than that, you just want a nicely put together property would usually just pass a Section 8 inspection. That's not difficult to do.
So when we're talking about doing that, I think most people that we've had communication with have concerns about the timeline of that, right? So when you look at the real estate purchase experience as a whole, the logistics, because we're talking about an inspection, right, as a part of the process. Can you walk us through the longevity of that? When can you do what? What can we expect there?
So it takes time. I do want to double back on what you said before because I left this part out. So it's really nice if you could get a property with a tenant who already has a Section 8 voucher there. So that helps because then all you have to do is maintain, and you'll get that annual inspection. CMHA will come in and they'll say, hey, we need you to fix items 1, 2, and 3, and we're good to go. So that's really nice. Coming back into how long this takes. So you have a vacant property and you don't have a Section 8 tenant. It's never been approved for Section 8 or anything like that. The process could take you about 90 days. So from the point a prospective tenant says, hey, I love this property, I'm going to apply, we screen them, you're good to go. They'll give us their RFTA packet. We'll complete what we need to complete on our end. If you're a landlord without a property manager, then you would complete that. You give it back to the tenant. Tenant completes what they need to complete, and then that packet is delivered to CMHA. You can email it. What we do here at HomeX, of course, we email the packet, and we also like physically deliver the packet because it just takes forever for everything. So we just try to double down and make sure we don't have those problems. Once that happens, you'll get a rent determination from CMHA, and that could take like 45 to 60 days. That is where
Wow.
the delay happens, right in there. So you're waiting on a rent determination, and then maybe you get that number, and it's not a number that you want. Now you've waited that 45 to 60 days just to say, no, I don't want to do this. So
Hmm.
you have to, take that into consideration. And what's really important about that is, a lot of times we'll look at that Section 8 zip code list, and you'll think that because what that number is on that list, that is the number that you're going to get. And that's not what happens. The number that you get is going to be based on that zip code list and current market rents. So if that list says, hey, in 44120, a 3-bedroom can get $1,300, but there are no $1,300 3-bedroom single families like in that zip code around that area, you're not going to get that. You're going to get your rent determination is going to be closer to what the market rents are.
And where do they pull that data from? Do we supply that data? Do they get their own data? Is it a collection? How does that?
Yeah, so I strongly suggest that you work with a really good realtor, really good property manager. HomeX, hello, because we're full service and we can do all of that for you. Yeah, for you to know exactly what you're getting into. We can give you as much information as we can. There's so much like preliminary steps you can take before you say, yes, this is what I want to do. We can get you a lot of information.
So sounds like the timeline can be a bit tricky, right, for
Yeah.
people. And I know we're going to talk about cons of Section 8 here in a minute, but like I heard something, and this is why I wanted you to see if you can clear this up, that like 90% of Section 8 inspections fail their first time. Is that correct? And if so, is there a way for us to minimize that number, right? Because we don't want to waste time with the inspection process if we know it's going to take another month and a half to get the rents figured out and get a tenant in there.
Um, well, again, you really need to have a good team. Because for one, I listed some of those repairs that are going to be, some red flags right out of the gate. So there are a lot of things that we can take care of before we even get to that inspection.
Mm-hmm.
Our turnaround time on inspections, and mostly we rarely ever fail those, by the way. But when
Good.
we do, um, we have vendors that'll fix that in days, and we'll get those guys right back out. So that won't be a problem. If that's it, if there's a failed inspection, you don't have to worry about that. It's usually something minor and something that we can tweak in a couple of days and get them back out to reinspect
Okay.
with
So
us, of
it's
course.
good. So that's a good point that you need to pick the team
Yeah.
that understands this process. And Ari, you've been doing it a lot longer than Josh and I, but Josh and I on the front end are talking to a lot of people that are looking at
Hmm.
these, 3-bedroom houses in Garfield Heights or Maple Heights that look like could be perfect houses to rent for Section 8.
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to uncover, and it sounds like you have a good idea for this, is when we go in and for the inspection process, right? We're
Hmm.
pointing out things that need to be repaired. So that way we're eliminating that time period, right? We want them to get paid from their rentals as quickly as possible, and that can help them.
Yes. Yes. No, for
Excellent.
sure. For sure.
Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about the pros, the
Uh-oh.
positives of Section 8. There's got to be a handful of them because we keep getting calls about it.
Hmm.
So I know one of the things that I wondered about was the rental amounts, and you had just talked a little bit about that. So I had a conversation 2 days ago that the individual said that, well, don't you get more money with a Section 8 rental? And I said, I don't think that's the case. So maybe you could help clear that up.
So that depends on the market rent. Again, Section 8 may say, hey, look, we'll give you $1,500 for this 3-bedroom in Maple Heights. But if there are no 3 bedrooms that are listed at $1,500 in Maple Heights, like and near that house in Maple Heights, right? Because we know that even though that list is based on zip codes, I mean, it's not always about the zip code. One zip code can cover 2 cities.
Right.
So you have to take all of that into consideration. So it's really about the market rent. And this is really something that you can find that. Like, I mean, a quick Zillow search will show you what the market rents are in the neighborhood. And that's what your rent determination is going to be closer to that. So
Okay.
if that market rent is not close to what's listed on the Section 8 zip code list, you can probably expect your rent determination to be closer to the market rent.
So I think if I'm hearing you correctly, I mean, with us having the property management in place, I
Mhm.
mean, if we have a lease that was signed 9 months ago
Mhm.
at a rate we want, we think is worth it, will that suffice as a comp, even though it's not like the most recent? Like, is that data relevant, or does it have to be something that's really fresh, really new for them to take into
Really
account?
fresh, really fresh. And actually, in the RFTA packet that we provide to CMHA, they ask you for comps.
Okay.
So you have to list your comps.
It's like an appraisal.
Yeah, essentially.
I think most people can understand that, right? It's like when you're selling your house, you can't just sell your house for $500,000 more than what the houses on your street are selling for. It has to appraise.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing. So what you're saying is something that's new to me is that amount that you see on the Section 8, whatever it is, guidelines, isn't the amount you're automatically going to get.
Right.
Correct. Okay.
So another thing about that I hear, just generally speaking, casual, is, well, I like Section 8 because it's guaranteed money. You're guaranteed
Yeah.
to get that money, right? True or false?
True. Once, your home's been approved and you have a tenant who's in there, it's true. But, you'll have your annual inspection. You need to do what's on that list in a time frame provided, or then you don't get the money. Then that's where it's not guaranteed. But if you do what you're supposed to do, then yes, it's guaranteed.
So an annual inspection in addition to your first inspection prior to getting it rented.
Yes.
Are there like fees associated with this?
No. I
Okay.
mean, the cost to do your repairs, but other than that, no.
But they don't charge you, like I know with some of the cities with their point of sale, they charge you $150 to come out and do their
No.
inspections. This is done. Okay.
No. Mm-hmm.
So would then the most, I guess, beneficial pro is that as long as you do your part, you're going to have guaranteed rent.
Yes.
Is there anything from a landlord's perspective that they have to go through education wise to get on that list to be able to allow Section 8?
Okay, so that's a good question. There is a class, and last I checked, you could do it online.
Okay.
I am not sure if you, as the landlord, would have to go through that class if you have a property management company who's already in the database. I don't know, but I do know that a class does exist.
Got it.
So we can follow back up on that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
maybe provide an update for that.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
interesting. So in your opinion, Ari, is
Mhm.
Cleveland still a good market for Section 8 rentals?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But what I can tell you in my experience is definitely don't look at that zip code list because your determination is probably not going to be close to what they're talking about. So,
So if you're an investor, sort of figuring out which direction you want to go, what
mhm.
is the, as we're looking at the different possibilities here, what are the things you should be cognizant of when you're deciding whether or not to go conventional versus Section 8? What should we be thinking about? How do we make that decision?
Well, Section 8 for one is guaranteed, so that's nice. Um, I mean, what happens is when you list a property, right? And this is what I tell most of my clients. You list a property for what the market says you can get. So that way it opens the door for Section 8 tenants or a traditional tenant, Um, you don't want to price it high in an effort to secure a Section 8 tenant because you may miss out on a good traditional tenant. So there's nothing wrong with that. A traditional tenant who is screened properly, and if you are working with us, they will be, you know, there's really no difference outside of the guaranteed income.
Hmm.
Okay. So I know that there has been maybe a stigma around Section 8, right? I'll
Mm-hmm.
never do Section. I hear people say this all the time. I will never mess with Section 8. Not gonna
Mm-hmm.
do it. To me, it sounds like there's a pretty high demand for it
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Although the process may be a little rigorous, a little bit time consuming. Big picture,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of positives. Um, what are the downsides? Like, why is there a stigma around it? What are the downsides? What should you be cognizant of when going that route outside of the things we discussed, if anything?
Right. So that's the thing. I really think that's like a dated assumption, like when it comes to Section 8. I don't think that that is the same problem anymore. I think part of that was before, still the time is an issue, how long it takes, right? That's a problem. But what you're seeing more of is like rent rates increase, you're getting prospective tenants who are employed. I mean, they are really qualified tenants. They just need help because rent is really high. So whatever negative stigma was associated with that in the past, it's just we don't look at it that way anymore. I never
Makes sense.
did, honestly. I never did. It's just you get bad tenants on both sides.
And there's
And
no
the bigger
guarantees,
problem
like
for
you said.
me with the voucher is really the organization and their process and getting it all done. That is my biggest problem.
And how can they lose that voucher? I've heard of this
Yeah.
before where and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know the answer to this question, but
Mhm.
if they don't take care of the place or if they
Yeah.
have, so I'm not sure, but like how can they lose that voucher, right?
So yeah, if you don't take care of the property, that's an issue. So that annual inspection that you'll get with CMHA, which typically one of our agents will be there too. So we'll do our annual inspection at the same time. If we notice that there's like if it's the house isn't clean, or there's broken windows and there's holes in walls and things of that nature, we'll say, hey, look, we're going to give you a 30-day notice to correct this. If it's not corrected when we come back, we're going to reach out to whichever organization is providing the voucher. So with Cuyahoga County CMHA, that changes in the city of Parma, though. I think there's another organization that does that. We're going to reach out to that organization and say, hey, look, we give them a 30-day notice to correct. Here are the pictures. We don't want to accept any more money from you, the organization, and we're not accepting money from the tenant. We're going to move forward with an eviction. And if we do that, the tenant is incentivized to do what they need to do, because if they get an eviction, they lose that voucher.
Hmm. And so with these tenants, Ari, do you see these tenants stay in one place longer because they've kind of gone through that process and they don't really want to move every year or 2 years? So if I'm an investor, am I looking at this, say, hey, I might get a really good tenant, but they also might be a longer term tenant?
You know what? I see tenants stay longer, but I don't want to say that there's like a definitive
Okay,
formula to that. Like, I've just seen that in my experience, but I just don't know if that's like, yes, I can say that for sure that's going to happen.
got it.
I mean, I think you have to look at it like they're going to stay more likely if the property is maintained,
Kept up with.
if the
Yes.
landlord and the
Mhm.
property management are handling their business the right way, right?
Mhm.
Fixing things in a timely manner. It goes back to your point. If you're a good landlord with a good property management company and things are getting taken care of course, I think you're hedging that they're going to be willing to stay.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Especially if, I mean, I've heard there's a shortage of Section 8 available housing right now.
Yeah.
And so if, kind of like bird in the hand, so to speak, do you want to
Yeah.
go back out and try to find something? Who
Man,
knows if that shortage will continue. I'd
it
like to see
will.
that trend maybe get debunked. Yeah,
It
you
will.
think so?
Yeah, I mean, there's a shortage in housing across the board, right? Everywhere.
Yeah.
So, you know, everyone's feeling that, whether it's a Section 8 rental, traditional rental, or even trying to buy your, forever home.
Yeah. Do Section 8 rents increase every year, or can they increase every year? Just like normal rent?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You can apply for a rent increase with CMHA, and what they'll do is they'll check for comps in the area. You can send comps to support while you're asking for this. And I've gotten plenty of rental increases approved. So,
Cool.
So if you're an investor looking to do this, I think when you're running your numbers,
mhm.
you need to plan for that short-term lull in cash flow. Now, if you're doing a loan, typically you have a 1 to 2 month gap between when your first mortgage is due anyway. So
Mhm.
it is certainly a factor. I don't think it should be like some crazy determination on how you run
No.
your numbers or price it. It's just something you need to keep cognizant of.
Sure.
Yeah.
Numbers wise. But once you're in, you're in. And I
Yeah.
think many of you out there should really go against the stigma. As long as it's going to be there and people are scared of it.
Mm-hmm.
You've said it before, Dave. Like when everybody else is zigging, I'm zagging.
Yes.
And if you've got the right team in place, you have the right agents that can wrap their heads around it. You have the right property management company that can handle their business. Try to get that timeline knocked down as quickly as possible. Know what the inspections are going to have, and get that price rent ready. Sounds like you're going to open up a lot more doors for great tenants.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want
No,
that?
for sure.
We love options. So certainly be keeping that in mind as you're looking to invest here for sure.
Cool. Anything else you can think of, Ari, that we're missing?
I'm sure we're missing something. We'll have to do another video. But
Yeah, right.
we got good stuff
Well, I
today.
know, like,
so
I get a lot of questions every day, and so does Josh about this. So hopefully this video will answer some of those questions. If you guys have further questions, put them down in the description box below, the comments section. Let us know what questions you have on Section 8. As always, we're going to put all of our information down there too, so you can reach out to us. Ari, you've been awesome in this transition and helping us with our future investors. This relationship is just going to continue to grow and strengthen as we get more experience in this. And we thank all the investors out there that are paying attention and have called us asking these questions, because this is still a great market for you. Section 8 is just one of those ways that you can make money here. And like I said, all of our information down in the description box below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, but make sure you reach out to us directly when you're ready to buy
or sell
your great house.